Would you like to support MonkeyWorks directly? Head over to patreon.com/MonkeyWorksUS. You'll be greeted with 4 membership levels. Starting at the first tier is Spider Monkey. This tier is $3 per month, gaining Discord benefits, exclusive access to ad-free content, live SITREPs, Q&As, and video archives. If that's not enough, step up to the next level of Howler Monkey. For just $5 a month, you'll not only have Spider Monkey's benefits, but you'll get exclusive discounts to the workshop plus voting voice on new products. Next up is Space Monkey. At $10 per month, this is the ultimate level of Overwatch. At this altitude, you'll gain access to no-ad content, full archive, voting power, workshop discounts, and monthly AMAs where you can ask Monkey anything. Lastly, for the MonkeyWorks superfan, you can become the Banana Knot. You'll get all the benefits of Space Monkey plus an exclusive MonkeyWorks item every month you are subscribed that you can't buy in the workshop. Head over to patreon.com/MonkeyWorksUS to begin your membership and be a part of a God-loving, patriotic community.
Stage 1 and Stage 2 engine chill has started. Engine hydraulics at pressure. And Stage 1 fuel is closed out. Falcon 9 is in self-align. Falcon 9 heaters closed out.
Dragon has transitioned to configure for terminal count.
Vehicle tanks pressing for strong back retract.
Strong back retract has started.
Stage 2 RP1 bleed. Stage 1 RP1 bleed. AFTS final setup started. MBAG igniter purges. Pogo bleed.
Dragon has transitioned to terminal count and is on internal power.
Stage 1 LOX load closed out. Vehicle is transitioning to internal power. Stage 2 LOX load is closed out. Propellant fills are complete.
Dragon is in auto idle.
Ground gas closeout is starting.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Dragon is in countdown.
FTS is armed for launch.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Stage 1 tanks pressing for flight.
All right. Welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. Listen, it's going to be your SITREP. It is Wednesday. It's about 11 a.m. Central Time, coming to you from great state of Texas, and it is February 1st. So we have put January behind us and continue to watch what's going on in the world. But boy, just based on January alone, headed into February, when I start looking at these news articles and the things that are happening, it's incredible the rate at which this stuff is starting to take shape. So we're going to get into it right now. So buckle up. Let's get over here to the board as we kick off in Skyglass. We're sitting at 228 on our screen currently, and I know that looks like a real hot mess as I kind of scroll around here. Let's get by the numbers. The highest number, this is kind of cool, are tankers. We've got 38 up right now, although I don't see any kind of indication that the FAA system or anything has gone down. But 38, remember too, when the FAA system went down, we were at like 60 plus air refuelers up over the United States, which is staggering. I've never seen it that high. 38 is a pretty high number, but let's take out, Tex 2s are going to be low today. There's only 11 showing there. T-38s, let me re-wicker the way this is shaped. But the T-38 side of the house is going to be lower too, because we've got massive ice or a massive ice event heading across Texas, and that's usually where we get most of our trainers between here and Oklahoma. So if you kind of look at it from this standpoint here, it even though we've taken some of those out, it does look a little thinned out compared to what we normally see across Texas. So, all right, well, let's break it out and look at what we actually have up. We're going to start off with our watch list this morning, and notice we've got a new Habal 616 headed southbound, and then another balloon, the NSL X1, That's interesting because these are new balloons I've just added to the quiver in terms of tracking, and they have not yet made it over the DoD, which is kind of an interesting deal. But a couple E3s and E6 of the United States, and then we get out over to the West Coast. You do have a new Q9. It doesn't show who it is operating under, but that is kind of over Palmdale, so it's probably one getting launched into service or getting up there testing, kicking the tires. And then let's see, you've got a little Department of Energy B407. That is not a sniffer. That's just a transport. And then little intelligence birds, some Texas DOT stuff going on there, kind of tucked in over El Paso, Biggs area. This one is kind of an interesting deal. Look at this B350. It is running kind of a search grid. Notice that real, let me zoom in a little better so you can see it, but see that back and forth, perfectly aligned grid running back and forth. So they're searching for something off of Puerto Rico. And then we've got a couple of Navy P-8s there in Florida. They've been very active lately. Notice that one's out over the water near Jacksonville. Little Gulfstream, that's C-101. Notice they've got a stealth drone as their picture. I think that's always interesting. But the C-101, that is going to be your director of Homeland Security. Okay. Looks like Air Force One is up, flying as NA. And then the sniffer, D412DE, we'll look at that closer too, as well as C-101, see where these gents are headed today. Let's back up a little bit here from the United States, and we'll get over to Europe here and take a quick gander at what's going on. But for that watch list, just so you know, as a data point, I track about 1,000 plus aircraft in my watch list. So, okay, there's an R135, looks to be British, headed down towards Constanta. And then we've got that SAM flight. That's probably going to be Blinken. Getting out of Europe, headed back to the U.S. And then that's Secretary Blinken, by the way. And then notice the little man in the middle circles there. That's going to be one of your E3 Sentries running some routes there over, that's over France. That's just interesting. I don't know what's going on in France, but they seem to watch their people a lot. And then we've got some activity P-8. Looks like some Navy sub-hunters over the UK. And let's see if we got anything else going on out here. Get over to Japan. We'll take a gander. Oh, we do have an R135 on ground in Japan. Yeah. Doesn't look to be airborne yet. So notice there's no heading or altitude or airspeed for that matter. So on ground, R135 off Japan. So that's a nice little catch. All right, let's get over to the heavies today. It is actually a little more active than we've seen. Very East Coast centric. All right, up and down the East Coast. So we kind of get a little closer look. We even got one headed down there into Central America. But Florida looks to be a little busy there, coming out of Tampa, back and forth between Patrick Air Force Base and MacDill. And then we've got, let's see, get in here a little closer. Yeah, the D.C. metro area looks very active. Now, it's a pretty big mix of mainly what we're looking at here are C-130, C-17s. A couple, there is an A-400 in there. It's not a U.S. bird because we don't fly A-400s. We get over here to Europe, where you'll see a lot more A-400s because that's what a lot of them fly. But that's going to be their transports. Again, we've got Belgium Air Force up. Looks like more activity there in France. And let's kind of get in underneath some of this stuff. You can see we've got, get that out of the way. We've got some stuff going on with Constanta. We get over here, looks like we dropped some stuff off there in Poland. And then we get all the way up into kind of Norway. Looks like we've got some stuff going on there. And then just in and out of Helsinki. And get over Middle East and see if we've got any activity. Remember, these are heavy lifts, right? So we do have one C-130. Looks like it's out of Cyprus. All right, that's all I'm showing for the heavies. So let's get over to the refuelers. In Europe, it's kind of light. U.S., not so much. But you can see a looks like we've got some stuff going on down over Crete and then over the Adriatic Sea. Some air refueling going on by the U.S. Another U.S. plane right here, too, as well, headed. It's currently over Romania, headed towards Constanta. Looks like it's going to cruise on out to somewhere probably maybe Middle East. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe it starts doing some routes there over Constanta. And then a little bit of work there over the UK, but not really much to speak of from a Europe perspective. So let's take a look at the United States and see what we've got going on. Sky glasses to give me the think circle. And yeah, I got a little activity going on. Some stuff rolling out of looks to be California. 39 showing on the current screen, which is pretty active. Yeah, California. We've got some stuff happening just north of Tucson, Arizona. And let's see. Yeah, a little work over New Mexico, sorry. And then we get over the central U.S. kind of in, let's see, is that Iowa? It's kind of hard to tell from here. But yeah, a lot of back and forth you can see running that air refueling route, all kind of north of the weather. And then, let's see if we've got any activity tucked into the corner. Now, we do have Air Force 2, looks like headed into kind of the corner of Tennessee here. We'll look at that in a minute. Got some stuff going on over Florida, South Florida. We get up in the usual areas out of the water of New Jersey. That's where Flashbang usually is residing, out in that general area, right? So they've got fighters up, probably covering D.C., Jersey, Delaware, that whole range of area there. So, all right, let's get into R-135s. And so over the U.S., it's kind of an interesting deal. We do have this activity that continues to take shape between Oklahoma and Texas, up there in that little tucked-in box area, as you can see. And then a little bit of work over, let me get that out of the way, over the Nevada area. So that's probably supporting red flag stuff, if I had to guess, more than likely. That's what we have really for the United States. It doesn't look too active. Remember, last 3 days is what we're looking at. Okay. All right. Now we get over to Europe. Tells a little different story. Look at this box of the R-135 doing work over Kaliningrad. They are very interested with what is taking shape on ground within Kaliningrad. I'm sure we'll hear soon enough what it really is they're looking at, but they are very concerned about something there in that area when you're looking at it from all the way around, complete, 360. Pretty crazy. And then, of course, the Constanta piece running out of Crete this time, which is interesting. And then over, again, like I said, over France. Yeah, we've got eyes on something in France. That's interesting, I think. But yeah, and we're going to look closer here at the drones next. But also notice we continue to run that R-135 over the Persian Gulf down to the southern side of Iran after all of the drone bombing going on. Now, I've got an interesting new data point for you on the drone stuff. I'll have to look at it closer here. And then on the southern side of Syria, we kind of expect that. But this new data point on the drone stuff is interesting. Yeah, let's see who it's coming from. That's probably going to be more interesting. And then this one, notice it just pops up and then disappears. Yeah, don't know where that one went off to, but that's just to the kind of the northeast side of Taiwan. I'm not seeing anything else out there in the Japan area. So let's get into the drones. Now, these are going to be Q9s, Q4s, and more than likely what we're looking at over the United States aspect of it, at least in this scenario, are going to be the Q9s. Notice the border stuff just south of Winnipeg. And we're going to talk more about that, too, from an immigration standpoint, and then some activity off of the Los Angeles area. Again, Q9 more than likely. And then let's get over to Europe. This starts to tell a little bit of a story of maybe some worry beads on behalf of our of NATO and the United States. As I let me back it enough to where we can get a really good look at what it's over. Notice that it is over that waterway, looking very, very close at the area around Istanbul, that pinch point and over everything that's in that general area. I think that is going to be, well, we already know that if things go hot, they're going to do everything they can to shut down that port going in and out, or I guess that, I don't know what you would call that, the transition between the Med into the Black Sea there. That they're definitely going to try to shut that down. Now, this is U.S. military intelligence, but it takes a blend. I've kind of changed it just to intelligence aircraft because when we get over to Europe, it's actually other countries too, Sweden and the like. Okay, now some of these are civilian aircraft that have been contracted by the DoD, and then other parts are just straight DoD. All right, so I've just kind of blended it. Where I have separated it is no R-135s, no drones in that mix because I want to keep them separate, all right, so we don't get them mixed up. Now, notice we're running some stuff over Hungary and then Budapest and that general area over Constanta. We kind of expect that, all right up against the Black Sea. Let's see. And then that one just kind of Macedonia headed down that way. Now, remember, we just had the SAM flight with Secretary Blinken leaving that area. So maybe looking at a little intel grab south of Kaliningrad. Yeah, I mean, this is, we, for some reason, are all getting all eyes on, not just U.S. and U.K., but NATO, Sweden, and the like. So, all right, running right up there, parallel to Russia and Belarus. Yeah, very active, actually. If you combine this along with the R-135 and the drones, there's not a lot moving over there that we don't have eyes on. It's really interesting. And then this one here, just this is probably Israeli intelligence drone or something like that, running routes over Gaza and that general area. Now, we'll look closer at the activity going on there, but it will make a lot more sense once I show you the map and the activity going on over Israel right now. Okay. Let me back this up. Let's get over here to Japan. Let's see if we've got anything going on. Nothing over the Japan area directly. When we get down to the Philippines, it looks like we've got some activity going on out there. So these aircraft vary. They're going to be everything from like the Brio 68 to the one with the surfboard skeg, that's running right up the center there of the aircraft on top. So again, this is what Brio 68 looks like. It's got that little doghouse on the bottom, kind of give you a general idea. But then you have this too, which is the Globalize, right? That's that, like I said, it looks like a surfboard rack over the top of this aircraft. Super duper, highly intelligent aircraft. Okay. And yeah, these things, like I said, you mix in that with the other intelligent stuff out there, like the balloons, and they've got eyes on everything. There's nothing moving they can't see. Okay. All right. Now we're looking at sub-hunters. Notice we got some activity off the Gulf water area, Gulf of Mexico. A lot of stuff headed down to the south side of Florida, and then off of Jacksonville, and then up off of Norfolk as well. You kind of expect to see the sub-hunters doing that. There's going to be P8s, P3s. And then notice we've got some transition, it looks like, across the U.S. Notice one lands. We got Dallas and into Tucson area. And then off the southern side of California as well. And then we get up here, very active over Tacoma and off the out in Spokane and off the Pacific water side, Pacific Ocean side, sorry, as well, which I haven't seen that in a while. It looks to be picked up. And then we've got one that rolls in and out of Hawaii. We typically see that anyway. So, all right, over to Europe. And only thing I'm seeing right now are just some activity over the UK, which looks like it's just southern side, northern side, just moving some assets around. Got a little bit of work there on the southern inland, but yeah. All right, not seeing anything else. So let's get over to Homeland Security, and then we'll get into the news of what's going on around the world. But notice Southern California, very busy. The last 3 days, All right, that's what we're looking at here, just the last 3 days. Down near the southern side of Tucson, along the border there in Arizona. A little bit of work over Biggs Army Airfield in that corner. Not too much. Notice the Del Rio area is got nada. All right. There's that little search grid. They continue to look for stuff off of Puerto Rico. Southern Florida, down in the Keys, looks like that's also been a lot more active lately. And then we get up here to the northeast side of the United States. Notice the activity that's running off of Michigan along the water there, off of Lake Huron area. Very, very active, very busy. Remember, this is Homeland Security, all right? And then a little bit over D.C., not really to speak of there. So, all right, let me minimize the sky glass and then take a quick look at the weather. I had this already up, so we're just going to transition into that and get into the stuff. This box right here, notice that's power outages, folks. We have a major ice event coming through the area. Today is actually going to be worse than the last 2 days. I will tell you here in the DFW area that the roads are basically an ice skating rink, covered completely with ice. They're saying today we could get up to an inch of ice. That means power is going to be going down because the trees will start snapping, power lines will start snapping, and you'll probably notice that a lot of people have no power in the DFW area, in the Metroplex here. But as we get into the TFRs, we do have this to the east side of Memphis, it looks like, or maybe that is Memphis. Notice they also have an ice storm warning as that starts to come in. But that's going to be Bob Marley and the Whalers headed in to the area. Now, when I talk about Bob Marley, I am talking about, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, that's the VP. When I say the Whalers, that's just her staff. So she is from Jamaica. And so that is why I call her Bob Marley. And she likes to hit the hooch, if you know what I'm saying. So, yeah. That is why. I see it all the time in the chat where people are like, who's Bob Marley? So, yeah, that's Harris. Okay. All right. Let me minimize that. Looks like she is. That's today, actually. So let's see if it maintains. These blue boxes on the outside of this are power outages. So all around her area where she's headed, or around the area where she's headed, not her area, but are going to be power outages. Looks like I said, ERCOT's going to have their hands full today in Texas. Okay, let's back up. That would not be the screen that I was looking for, but we'll get it up here in just a second. Oh, yeah. All right. We'll kick it off here with Flashbang. Let's see what this dude is up to today. It looks like he is going to be staying in the White House. And this I always find his competition council talking about bringing American economy and lowering the prices for the American people. I don't know about you guys, but I see it going up. This is, like I said, the term jellyfishing. It's when you go in and you start to mess with something and all you do is create more and more issues. It's called jellyfishing, and that's exactly what we've got going on with this administration. It's because he puts people in play that are incompetent. Case in point right here, press secretary. Okay. So, all right, let's back away from Flashbang. Let's get over here to the news of what's going on in the world. This one I find comical as we'll reel through some of the headlines. Zero Hedge. We found no misuse of U.S. funds in the Ukraine. This is coming straight out of the mouth of the U.S. Secretary of, the U.S. Treasury. And they say that with a straight face. Keep in mind that Ukraine has just announced mass corruption in their country. All right. Here's another one just got busted on top of the other 4 or 5 that were already. And these were heads of state within the Ukraine. But this one here, they raid the home of a billionaire in a wartime anti-corruption crackdown. Look at there. Yes. Another one bites the dust. All right. Bohica. And if you're not familiar with that acronym, it basically stands for Bend Over, Here It Comes Again. So this is your Bohica moment for the day. And so U.S. is readying a new $2 billion Ukraine weapons package. So here we go again. This is just gets better by the day. Let me show you some more stuff, too. This is really going to just add salt to the wound. U.S. Department of State, the use of presidential drawdown authority for military assistance to Ukraine has been signed. This is January 6th. This is the fact sheet tied to it. This is the crazy piece of it. For Ukraine, the secretary has exercised authority delegated by the president to direct 30 drawdowns totaling approximately $18.3 billion in defense articles and services from the DoD since August 2021. And it continues on. So this authority basically is you're pulling from U.S. military assets and sending them to Ukraine. That includes money, includes equipment, tanks, whatever it may be. All right. So we continue to send stuff over. Now, you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute. This really isn't our war. What are we doing? Well, like I said before, it is our war because we have a stronghold in Ukraine. If you haven't figured that part out yet. Now, the question goes back to if Trump was in office and this took shape, do you think Trump would send $1 of the U.S. money to this effort? No. In fact, he would tell him to go pack sand. And we know that, okay? All right, so speaking of just piling it on, here we go. U.S. to buy 31 new Abrams tanks to fill an order for Ukraine. Key takeaway here, Wednesday, as President Flashbang announced that the U.S. would supply Ukraine with 31 M1A2 Abrams tanks. However, the Pentagon has cautioned on Thursday that filling this order will take some time because the U.S. doesn't have those specific tanks available in military stockpiles. Remember, go back to the whole, we're going to start doing the drawdown, and looks like, yeah, we're just, like I said, stacking them up. But yeah, tanks are on their way, folks. This is getting ready to hit a whole new level, and we're going to look closer at what's going on the ground in Ukraine as well as the rest of the Middle East here in just a second. But now here's off of the war zone. This is the drive. It says the Ukraine SITREP M2 Bradleys have begun their voyage to the battlefield. The first shipment of more than 60 of 109 Bradley fighting vehicles promised to Ukraine have left the port of South Carolina. And there you go, locking and loading. So there are your, there's more U.S. military equipment rolling out and onto this ship. So we're not just sending it via air, we're putting it on ground, all right? All right, now as we're talking about flashbang, let's take a quick look at something I want to show you. Check this out. This is under the current administration and as they continue to dwindle our food supply. But this is the cattle population hits the lowest since 1962. So the beef shortages possible. It says U.S. cattle population dropped to just over 28 million head, the lowest since 1962. They're saying it's due to weather, things like that, and the fact that they can't feed their cattle. And so farmers have basically kind of stepped back from it because it's a money loser for them. It also is driving the cost of beef through the roof. So, yep, back away. Let's get on over here to the other piece of this. All right. Now, this, okay, first off, you can see the ice, that pink, running straight through the heart of Texas and up into the neighboring states, Arkansas, et cetera. And it looks like that's going to continue to head up to the East Coast. So you guys will have that here in a couple of days. You're welcome. Be glad to get rid of it here because we're going on day 3, and they're saying it's going to be 4 days. So we still got tomorrow to go through. But this is not good. But let me just point out the fact that there's not a lot of activity going south of the border. If you notice that, I've got two aircraft right now. This is going to be Swift Air. Everything is going interior to the country. So other than this one, this looks to be going from Laredo, border town, to San Diego, border town. But this is headed inbound to Denver. This one's headed to Greensboro from Ontario, California. And then we've got this one here coming out of Austin, headed up to Cleveland, it looks like. Cincinnati, Cleveland, CVG Airport. And another one, it appears to be headed to Milwaukee or somewhere. Let me see if I've got that. Yeah, it's something coming out of there. But anyway, just a data point for you. But let's take a look at what else is going on here with the migrant situation. New DHS emails are saying migrants are overrunning bus drivers, attacking agents, and more. Shocker. We already know the amount of people coming across our southern border is obscene at this point. But check this one out. This was coming out of Reuters, and this is very interesting. These are where the locations of people coming out of this country and heading into Brazil, because they say that the U.S. is basically backlogged in terms of getting or allowing the Afghanis to come into the country. I will say this, if you weren't aware of it, we have a policy right now. We have been bringing 2,000 Afghanis into our country a month. They come in through the East Coast, and then we basically rehome them into our country. 2,000 a month. It's been going on since we backed out of the country. Okay, so but this is just a big article write-up that these people are risking an 11-country trek to get into our country, and so that doesn't look like a main path, does it? Yeah, man, I don't know how they run through this without finding rattlesnakes and all the other stuff, because it's out there, no doubt about it. So just don't hear about it. Anyway, so just a data point for you. And then here, this, I keep showing the amount of activity we have in terms of the Q9 drones south of Winnipeg. We've got a ton of U.S.-Canada border crossings coming in, a 743% spike coming in from the north now. So, and it's wintertime, and it's very cold. So wait till spring and summer. I imagine that number is going to be a lot higher than 743. So, all right, let's get over to the NOTAMs. Big takeaway. This right here, this big box, that is weather. National Winter Storm Op Plan, again, Teal 72, weather surveillance. All right, so we will continue to watch that. Another weather surveillance, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, this one is exercise. Yeah, it's going to be exercise off Hawaii. So these yellow things you see kind of spread out across, that's turbulence. So the weather's actually rolling through there. If I were to take a look at, let me see if I can pull up the weather radar. Here we go. And we add that to it. May not show because it's not going to give it out there because that's international. So, but this area in general, as they conduct this, it'll be real interesting to see if they are able to deter stuff from coming back into California after the 12 in a row storms we just had. I think that's what we have going on out here, although I'm not 100%, but I'm just saying coincidence, probably not. All right. Other piece too, right in, I think this general area is HARP. So it looks like we continue to have exercises going on up here, Mill-Ops, in that general area. But that's pretty close to HARP. It's not over HARP, but it's pretty close. All right. And then this is all the activity going on over the United States. A lot of boxes here. This is going to be a TFR as well as this little one down in the corner. But as you can see, as we get a little closer, most of this is going to be Mill-Ops, mill exercises across the United States. And that one right there, let me just see what that is. Exercise schedule. Okay. All right, let me back it up. And then let's go over here to Europe. Iceland still has their ongoing exercise, as is this going on in Sweden. And let's see what they've got. Mill exercise extended north of 63rd north latitude. Sweden. Okay, yeah. That's running until February 15th. So that looks like that's an ongoing exercise. And then, of course, we still have this stuff here. Don't lose sight of it. Actually, we did lose sight of it. There it is. Come on back, baby. It's all over Ukraine. And it doesn't want to load right. There we go. But just notice the pinch point. It doesn't want to cooperate. Over the Black Sea. That's why we don't have any of our aircraft running over this area, as we talked about last time, okay? All right, let's get on down to it. Now, Here's one for you. The U.S. is saying that Russia is now violating the New START nuclear arms control treaty. You may remember that during Trump's stint, that he basically let the START, I think it's START 2 treaty or whatever, expire. And then we had a new START treaty that came into play, and that one actually started to expire, but it has been since extended. If you get over here to the document here, the new START 2 treaty from the U.S. Department of State, it says here that they agreed to extend the treaty through February 4th, 2026. And so we do have one in play, but it looks like Russia is basically saying, Pakistan, we're not even going to acknowledge it at this point, probably because they're moving nukes into Kaliningrad and Belarus, etc., which are probably a violation of the START treaty. Okay. All right. Now, remember I was talking about the drone strikes. The other day we had the U.S. pointing fingers at Israel. Now, this is interesting because if we start looking at Iraq, we start looking at its proximity to Iran, and we know that they've had a long history of clashes. This here is talking about the drone attack is actually being linked to the Iraqi Kurds. Now, that is going to be a game changer, because if that is who is behind this, then you're probably getting ready to see something happen between Iran and Iraq if we're a betting man. All right. So let's kind of get into that as we look at the maps. We'll start out here in Ukraine, and let me drag that down. I don't know why I had that. I guess I loaded it and did not position it. So, but we'll position it while we're talking here. Notice the activity north of Kiev. Kiev's going to be in the center, and that rocket that you see just kind of over the center top piece, that is activity that is starting to take shape north of Kiev. So it looks like we are starting to see kind of a new front coming out of the Belarus side into northern Ukraine. And then the blue shields are air defense warnings going off because Russia is popping off airstrikes, either artillery or cruise missiles, into those regions. So Russia looks to be, again, it's a tempo thing, right? We see it skinny down to nothing, and then we see it spool up coast to coast in Ukraine. So I say coast to coast, border to border. That's more accurate. So anyway, very, very active in Ukraine right now. And then we get over here to Syria, and just notice the amount of activity happening on the northern end there towards Turkey. Extremely active. And Syria is really heating up right now. All the way down the southern side is the part that is closer to Damascus and Israel. So don't lose sight of Isaiah 17. That is where you wake up and Damascus is no more. Seems to be very active going on down in that general region. And then the U.S. is popping stuff off. So again, like I said, we've got you've got the U.S. inside Syria. You've got Syria inside Syria, which is a split. Two different types of, I guess, loyalties within Syria. And then on top of that, you've got Iran, Turkey, and Russia, all inside that. So it's going to be a hotbed. So when it comes into Israel, that is where that attack from the north is going to come out of, more than likely. Okay. Now, speaking of Israel, notice down on the south end, you've got, it looks like the missile defense system is kicked in again. Looks like a lot of shots getting popped off down in Gaza. Now, remember, we were looking at the drone activity over Israel, and that kind of is in that same general area. Or I say drone, but that was a recon aircraft running back and forth over that same southern Gaza area. And then just notice that within the West Bank, the occupied West Bank, that is going to be very, very active as well. With the IDF and the Palestinian Authority. So that is what's going on there in Israel. Now we get over to Iraq. I remember I was just talking about how it's starting to go hot with Iran, the stuff that's been happening. Just notice the northern end of that. That's going to be very active. You've got everything from drones to missiles to aircraft taking out stuff. It's been very, very active. getting more and more active over Iraq. So we'll continue to monitor the activity going on in that country. But yeah, the Middle East, I'm telling you, that place is heating up like a junkie spoon right now. So, all right, let's get back over here to our other board. But again, looks like the Kurds may have been behind this. And like I said, if we get over to our map, you start looking at the general area from Iran and Iraq. This is Iraq. This is Iran. And this is the area that seems to be going very, very hot on the northern end, which is part of Turkey. Okay. Okay. Now, let's go to the cyber attacks. Look at this. These are like volleys from the three-point line, all coming into the United States. Yep, and that's more than just the rim shot. Look at that. Holy smokes. This is, we're getting really, really peppered today. Really peppered. This is very active, more so than I've seen in quite some time in terms of the velocity of the stuff coming inbound. All right, we get over to the other one, 19 million attacks, and we're only halfway through the day. Notice the U.S. seems to be taking some volley shots into many, many areas around the world, so including Israel. It's kind of crazy. Austria, yeah, very active. All right, now let's get over to the military side of the house. Biggs is looking like it's picked up in terms of activity. Again, there's the weather. This is ice. This is snow. But you get into it, you've got an Allegiant that just arrived. It's an A320 Airbus inbound out of Cincinnati, Kentucky International Airport, CVG. You've got a camera flight that came in from Baltimore, Washington. Those are going to be the main two. Nothing on the schedule side of the house. And then this, Allegiant Air looks to be headed back to Manchester, up to Boston. And then the camera flight's headed back to Baltimore, Washington. And so more than likely, these are troops. And these probably could be troops. This could be folks coming inbound. Not likely, though, coming from Cincinnati. This actually could be immigrant-related. There's no telling. These folks right here between, if you look at Swift Air, Allegiant, all of them, basically, all these charters, Omni, they will sell their soul for this work because they don't really have the revenue stream on the commercial side of the house. So they go into the DoD side, and that's where they, get their bread and butter. So anyway, they have many, many masters. All right, this is going to be Ramstein. And let's see, we've got a camera flight coming in from England. That's one of the 747-400s. That could be Coletta or it could be Atlas. Here's another Atlas Air coming in from Baltimore, Washington. That's going to be bringing the stuff in that we just talked about over here in the drawdown stuff. All right. So, yeah, very active, right? The interesting thing, too, about this drawdown as we talk about it is this has a sense of urgency behind it where if you get into it here, the assistance begins arriving within days or even hours of approval. All right. So when we see flashbang authorize, whatever it may be, we'll watch the flights come in almost immediately now. All right. Or the ships. Those won't be immediate, but they'll be putting stuff on aircraft very quickly. And so we'll be able to watch it come inbound. All right. So departure wise, coming out of Ramstein, that is that 747-400 camber flight that we see here. So, again, could be Coletta Air. And don't see this Atlas Air on here just yet. All right. But there you have it. And there's a Spar 83, which can be a dignitary. All right. Blue and white. All right. This is going to be your Atlas Airs. Just notice where we've got these coming out of. You got one coming out of Spain and not seeing any other green dots within Europe. It looks to be over here into China. And into Japan kind of deal. So the Japan side of it is probably, especially this one coming out of Hawaii, as my screen is rethinking. I will just move on. Anyway, that's probably military related. Okay. Then we get over to this side. This is going to be Coletta Air. And just notice we've got some stuff coming out of Europe, some stuff coming out of Middle East. All right. Without going into major detail. And it looks like down here, is that Jakarta? I don't know. That's kind of in that Southeast Asia thing. So coming out of Sydney, Australia to, where are you headed to? Singapore. There we go. All right. Let's see what else we got. Something headed into Alaska. Again, this is actually the actual Coletta flight tracker. Okay, so that's what they have up right now. Active, live, real time. Then if we get into the details, notice you've got one coming out of CBG. That one's headed into Belgium. That's a Coletta Air. More than likely military related. All right. And then this one here, another one out of CBG, headed to Germany. And again, just landed. Again, that's probably military related. And who do we have here? This is Camber Flight. So we've got one. Looks like it's departed out of Ramstein. Let me back up and see if we can find it. And it's on a descent, 1,500 feet, 177 miles an hour. So that little bad dude is on final. All right. So based on airspeed and altitude. And let's see. Where are you headed? Let me click on it just to see if we've got. That's Kuwait. Sorry. I should have known better. Yeah. Definitely headed into Kuwait out of Ramstein. Okay. Okay. Omni. Nothing currently up, although we did just have one that looked like it came out of Toronto. Ontario, Canada, headed south down into, I want to say, Belize. Okay. And that has since disappeared, already landed. Royal Air Force, very active. A lot of stuff in and out of the United States. Looks like one out of Tampa, one out of Dix, Lakehurst. All right. And then we've got this one here, looks to be headed into Africa. And it is kind of low altitude. Actually, let me get in a little closer. That's probably Crete. Headed into Crete. Looks like we've got a lot of activity going on out of between Crete and Cyprus here, between the U.S. and the other NATO countries. But looks like that's landing in that general area. And then we've got a couple coming back into the country. And this one coming out of Sweden. Yeah. So looks like the Brits are pretty active today. And then let's get over to Guam. Let's see if we've got anything new. Yep, got an Atlas Air coming in from Fairbanks, Alaska. An Atlas Air coming in from Masawa. And those are going to be two big heavy movers. So that's equipment, more than likely not troops. And then it looks like that one's headed to Hong Kong from there. And a little Navy logistics bird in the mix there too. Okay, Russians. Now, I'm showing nothing on the board. However, I did have a couple flying earlier. Looks like this one came out of Volgograd over to Moscow. And that just landed an hour and 53 minutes ago. And let's see, RSD 310. That's out of Moscow into Almaty. All right, Kazakhstan. Okay. And let's talk Nuke Sniffer for a quick second. 22 minutes ago, just landed. Looks like it ran some routes out over the outside of the Senior Living Center brown zone, as we call this right here. And yeah, notice the ups and downs in altitude. So that thing is getting a lot of, let's back up and see where all of the altitude deviations took place. Yeah, that was right out here. Getting a hard look at something out to the south side of DC, southeast side of DC. Yeah. So, yeah, there's, that's looking for nukes, folks. It's smelling the air. It's looking for anything that's not supposed to be there. All right. Mainly nuclear material, dirty bombs, the like. So anyway, it's been very active lately. So they are certainly worried about something. And then this is going to be C-101. That's going to be your Secretary of Homeland Security. That aircraft we looked at earlier today looks like that is back into action as it heads, where are you headed here? DC to, I don't know where that's going. See if I can get a closer look. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on where it's headed. That actually looks like it's doing touch and goes. Although that right there, yeah. Yeah, that's running touch and goes. So interesting. All right. Well, hey, listen, that's going to do it for today. Keep your eyes open. This is a lot of stuff going on the news, a lot of things happening around the world, a lot of moving pieces. And it does look like that a war with Russia is not that far off when you start to change what we are seeing go into the theater, like all the ground offensive stuff. So it's going to do it for today. No, it went long again. I apologize for that, but a lot of stuff to cover. So that's it. Be safe out there. Stay frosty. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworksus.com.